I am back with part 2 of why this is the white people's fight, right? Everything that's happening in America is the white people's fight. Now, to recap on my last video, I'm not talking to MAGAs and I'm not talking to Republicans, right? Because they're a lost cause. So I'm talking to everyone that's left, right? Left-leaning, Democrats, progressive, independents, whoever, right? Now, my next few examples are going to be a little bit more harder to hear, but it goes to my point. Let's move on. So, real talk. Do you want to know why when a feminist or feminism, the feminist movement gets brought up, it's received with such negativity? It's about 50-50, right? If someone receives, you calling yourself a feminist or you're talking about feminism, that it gets received well, right? Do you want to know why that is? White women. White feminists. I said what I said. I saw a video recently of a Black female podcaster who was talking about just this, that when the feminist movement was created, it wasn't created with her in mind. And by her, she means Black women. And I couldn't agree more, because I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but a lot of white feminists suffer from a white savior complex, meaning they want to fight for our equality. They want to fight for our representation. They want to fight for whatever they say they want to fight for, but in the ways that they see fit. And if they don't get it their way, then they become the op. They join the other side, or they stay silent and they don't want anything to do with it. Women of color, specifically feminists, raise your hand if you've dealt with that type of feminist. I sure have. When I say I'm a feminist, it's because I believe wholeheartedly in a woman's right to choose in all things, not just her reproductive rights, because, I am on that front too, but a woman's right to choose whatever career path she wants, a woman's right to choose if she wants to stay at home. So with that being said, I am pro trad wife and stay-at-home moms. I'm also pro sex work. I'm pro sex workers, right? I'm pro the girl boss that wants to be the CEO of the Fortune 500 company and everything in between, because I support her right to choose. I support her right to stay at home. But yeah, you have the white women. You have on this side, you have all the trad wives and stay-at-home moms bickering with the girl bosses over here who are saying that women belong here. No, women belong here. And what you do, blah, blah, blah. And us women of color are just sipping our matcha teas and our coffees. And we're like, oh, the white women are fighting, right? Because it's like, you miss the plot. True feminism means equality in all things. But it also means that a woman can choose. We fight for your choice. So if your choice is to stay at home and be a traditional wife, good for you. If your choice is to put your dirty bath water and soap and sell it to men, I support you. Because honestly, I thought that was funny. Speaking on that though, Sydney Sweeney had the white feminists up in arms last year. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was comical, right? I can't tell you how many white feminists I upset during the American Eagle scandal when I was like, what a privilege it must be that the worst thing to happen to white women this week was an American Eagle ad. The white woman came for me, allies, right? Democrats, leftists, whatever you want to call it, the allies, they came for me. They brought up eugenics. They brought up my own history. Like, I don't know my own history of my own people. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't care about an American Eagle ad when people who look like me are literally getting kidnapped off the streets and put into concentration camps, right? When the most educated demographic in America, Black women, are losing their jobs left and right, all for being Black, when they're the most qualified, right? A lot of white women were upset with me. And all of a sudden, right, their behavior changes up. And you say what you want, but like a lot of things that feminists do, specifically white feminists, it's like, did anyone ask us? Like, did anyone? When white women decided to burn the bras, I was like, no, bras are an investment. My bras are between $80 to $100. Like, I literally spend my hard-earned money on good bras, on good support. Like, who thought that was a good idea? Who did we miss that memo? Or when they were wearing the fallopian tubes or the uteruses, whatever they were, on their heads, and they were marching down the streets of what, DC? And I had to look up again why they were doing that. And I was like, okay, I thought they were fighting the pink tax, right? That can, put in bras, tampons, things like that. You know what I mean? No, it's just, I'm white woman, hear me roar. I'm wearing this ugly ass hat on top of my head to symbolize to the world that I am proud. What? I'm sorry. That's like, no one asked us. And by us, I mean women of color. Like, no one asked us, because like, we would have done things a little differently, but let's go on with what the white women want to do. Like, when they do riots and protests, without shirts and stuff, and they're showing off themselves and symbolizing that, women deserve to exist without, men feeling a certain way. I get that. I get why they're doing that. But there's a lot of things in the feminist movement that I'm just like, no one asked us. And God forbid we speak out on it or say anything, because white women, they change up so quickly, right? And all of a sudden we're the problem. All of a sudden all the microaggressions, which is my next one, come into play. People of color, specifically women of color, raise your hand if you've tried to educate a white person on a microaggression, that what they said, what they did, their behavior is low-key racist, and that white person changed up really quick. Specifically white women on this one changed up so quick, and all of a sudden they treat you and they bring up all our negative stereotypes, how we're combative and we're aggressive and we're taking it out of context. Raise your hand if that's been you. You're part of the problem. You get booted out as part of the problem, right? The white feminist with the white savior complex, you booted out because you're part of the problem, okay? Do y'all remember, I don't know if this was last year or the year prior, where Southeast Asian Indian women decided to start calling out white women for whitewashing yoga and yoga practices, and how that turned out? I remember, because I went to the comment section and it was exactly what I had expected and anticipated. Now, to my point, this isn't MAGA, this isn't Republicans, because a lot of them are conservative Christian and view yoga practices as demonic. It's the allies, it's the good white folks, it's the white people on our side currently protesting. They called you out on whitewashing practices from their time, their country, their culture, and you guys got defensive. You guys came with the microaggressions. How many times have Black women told you that a certain celebrity in their brand is profiting off of Black likeness and Black culture, that they're misappropriating Black culture and not even giving them the credit, and yet you're the first ones in line to follow that person. You're the first ones in line to buy their merch. They're first ones in line to listen to their music. I mean, do you think it was the MAGAs and the Republicans that were leading the conversation that Taylor Swift should have been pop star of the century over Beyonce Knowles Carter? No, it was y'all, which is hilarious. And I'm only bringing that up as an example. But how many times have we told you guys not to support someone or to not do something because it's appropriating Black culture, it's misappropriating Black culture, and you guys get defensive, combative, the microaggressions start, right? You're just as bad as they are. You're part of the problem. You get booted out as part of the problem when you do these things, okay? Because really, let's have some common sense here. Do you think it's MAGA and Republicans that emulate and copy Black culture the most, or Asian cultures the most, or Southeast Asian, the yoga practices like I just used as an example? Do you think they're doing that? Some of them are, right? Or when, white creators, white people, whoever, celebrities, try to make a trend popular when the Black community, Black women have been doing that for decades, and we call you guys out on it because you praise them, you praise these white women for their ingenuity and their, trend-setting capabilities, whatever it is, when we've been telling y'all that Black women, Latina women, whoever, women of color have been doing that for decades, and how a lot of y'all change up. All of a sudden, again, the microaggressions start. All of a sudden, again, we're combative and aggressive when we call you out on this behavior. Congrats, you're part of the problem. You get booted out as part of the problem. To the side. Now, my next example is highly specific. And again, all my examples are specific and they may not pertain to you as a white person, but at the end of my videos, it's only going to be a very, very small percentage of you who can sit here and say with your whole chest that none of these examples apply to you and that you're not the problem, okay? So again, this one is very specific and it's a very niche example. But for the white people who fetishize my people, and by my people, I'm a Black Mexican American, so I'm talking about Black people and Latinos, right? You fetishize them to the point where you date them and you start having kids, right? I bring this up because when I was younger, I can't tell you how many white women would come up to me and tell me that they were dating a Black man or that their baby daddy was a Black man because they wanted their children to look like me and have hair like me. And I would always look at them like, you're crazy, because I really feel like you should pick that person in your life a little bit better than the possible children that they could give you. Like, that's just weird behavior. Now, not all white people fetishize brown people, right? Some of y'all really love them, right? But then you still have kids, right? And you neglect to bring up your now colored kids. You now have brown kids, Black kids in the cultures and customs of half of their people, right? Let's say the baby daddy, the baby mother, the spouse, you guys separate. All of a sudden, and I've seen this firsthand from the mothers and fathers and also the children, when it didn't work out with those people, all of a sudden, the microaggressions start, the racism starts. They're good for nothing, that they're this and this, and that you fall right into the prejudice and the racism that other people say about colored people. I then hear this regurgitated from your children who are also brown, Black, Latino, and I'm like, what is being taught at home? Because it starts at home, right? Now, I hate this argument because it blames the woman, and I don't like that. But do y'all know of the notion of the white mom versus the Black mom? That conversation. I hate that conversation because that's not always true, but I can't sit here and say that there's not some truth to that, right? When biracial kids have a white mom versus a Black mom. So again, I can't say that there's not truth to that comparison, but I have encountered personally biracial adults and children when I was a child, right? When I was younger, who had some form of contempt for their Black and brown constituents, their Black and brown sides, right? We've all encountered the biracial people who are lighter skinned, have lighter eyes, different hair texture, who like to act like they're better than Black people or Black women, or you know what I mean? And I'm like, that's learned at home, right? Something was said, microaggressions were said that they absorbed, and now they have this preconceived, ridiculous notion that because they look a certain way, have a certain hair texture, whatever, that they're better than half of their own people. That's ridiculous. And then they go on sometimes to vote against their own interests, and they become MAGA and Republicans. And I'm like, well, I mean, your lost cause can't help you there. You're part of the problem. Specifically white women who do that. White women, you're also part of the problem, who you might be dating a Black man, a Latino man, Southeast Asian man. And I only bring up those examples because I've had personal experiences with these men talking down on their own women. Admittingly, more on the Black side, even less on the Latino side, and very rare, but I've heard it like twice in my life where, you know, Southeast Asian Indian men were talking down on their own women. And I'm like, who hurt you? Like, where did this come from? You know what I mean? Because they're some of the most beautiful women in the world, some of the most intelligent, some of the most ambitious women. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's a different conversation for a different day. But you know that you're part of the problem when you don't check that behavior and you feed into it. I know people of color, women of color specifically, have encountered white women who think they're better than we are because they have a man of color on their arm and they consider themselves as a preference, right? We've all dealt with that. You're part of the problem. congratulations, you get booted out as part of the problem. Okay?